At what point did celebrating Easter in Britain become controversial? Today we're looking at a story that's left many Brits stunned, and watching the footage from a protest outside a primary school where Easter was cancelled, not by public demand, but in the name of inclusivity. Let's take a look at what happened when Christians showed up to make their voices heard. But first, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Just a quick one to say we have new Liber t-shirts available on our website. You can check the link in the description or go to britishstand.com. At what point did celebrating Easter in Britain become controversial? That's the question many are asking this week, as a primary school in the UK decided to cancel its traditional Easter bonnet parade and Easter service, events that have been part of British school life for generations. The reason given? Inclusivity. According to a letter sent out by the head teacher, Miss Manda, the school would not be holding these long-standing Easter traditions this year in the spirit of inclusivity and respect for the diverse religious beliefs represented within our school community. And just like that, Easter was quietly pushed aside. Not because children complained, not because parents demanded it, but because a school leadership team thought the very presence of Easter in a British school might offend. Let's be absolutely clear here. Inclusivity should never mean erasing the cultural and religious traditions of the majority. This is Easter we're talking about. A Christian celebration rooted deeply in British history, our calendar, our education system, and yes, our national identity. Outside the school gates, passionate but peaceful protesters gathered. Some held signs, including one that branded Miss Manda, the Grinch who stole Easter, with horns photoshopped onto her image. It was dramatic, but it spoke to the sense of betrayal many Christians feel.
Who's the king of Eastleigh?
Jesus!
Who's the king of Norwood? Who's the king of Britain? Jesus! Who's the king of Saudi Arabia? Jesus! Who's the king of Africa? Jesus! Who's the king of Afghanistan?
Was it too much? I'm not sure, but the anger is real, and it's not just about this one school. It's about a trend we've seen growing for years, where traditional Christian celebrations are either watered down, quietly shelved, or replaced entirely, all in the name of not upsetting someone. Christian protester Rob Owen put it plainly, "We are here to maintain that this, Easter, is part of our culture and traditions and needs to be maintained." And he's right, because the slippery slope is real. Today it's a bonnet parade. Tomorrow it's the nativity play. Before long, Christmas is just a winter festival, and Easter is reduced to a vague arts and crafts week with no meaning attached. Grandmother Marie Pigney, also at the protest, said, "When I was in school, Christianity was very much a part of it. Many others and I believe that a foundation in Christianity is really good for children and society. And why shouldn't children be taught that? We're not saying children of other faiths shouldn't be respected, of course they should. But the answer is not to erase the cultural bedrock of this country to avoid discomfort. British values include Christianity, always have. That doesn't mean other beliefs are excluded. It means they're welcomed alongside tradition, not in place of it. Let's not pretend that removing Easter from a school's public celebrations makes things more inclusive. It doesn't. It sends a very different message, that our shared heritage is something to be ashamed of. UKIP leader Nick Tenconi, who attended the protest, read Miss Manda's letter aloud beside a table of Easter eggs. He accused the school of putting Christianity to the side in order to tick a diversity box and receive more funding. Now that's a strong claim, but it reflects a deep frustration among many Christians who feel sidelined, silenced, and mocked for simply wanting to keep their traditions alive in the public square. And let's talk about the so-called supporters on the other side of the road. ICRA, representing an external group, not even parents from the school, claimed, "None of those people have children at this school." But here's the thing, culture isn't bound by postcode. You don't have to be a parent to care when something sacred is being stripped out of the classroom. This is about who we are as a country and where we're going. At the end of the day, Easter should not be controversial. Not in Britain, not in a primary school, not when we're talking about egg hunts, bonnets, and church services that have brought families and communities together for decades. Inclusivity doesn't mean erasure, it means allowing everyone to share what they believe, openly, proudly, and without fear of offending someone simply by existing. The Bishop of Southampton said last week that schools face challenges in serving families of all faiths and none. And that's true. But the solution isn't to ban Easter, it's to celebrate it proudly while also making room for others. If we don't draw the line now, then what exactly will be left of British tradition 10 years from now? This isn't about exclusion, it's about preservation and standing up for Easter, for culture, and for the right of children to experience the joy, meaning, and togetherness that Easter brings. What are your thoughts on Easter being cancelled at this primary school, and what do you make of the protest? Let me know in the comments. In other news, MOD plans to hire a DEI champion to help fight cyberterrorism in an inclusive environment whilst working from home have been slammed. Britain's National Cyber Force, whose job it is to counter cyber-terrorist attacks on the UK, is hiring a transformation equality, diversity and inclusion lead to create psychologically safe spaces and build an inclusive culture for all. The job involves working closely with the head of EDI to contribute to the delivery of a strategic priority in a high-profile and hugely significant area of work. This evolving role requires innovation and flexibility in an environment where individuals are empowered and trusted to apply their expertise, says the advert. But the job has been slammed as a waste of taxpayer money, with many calling for the funds to be redirected into the frontline prevention of cyber-terrorism instead. Critics argue equality, diversity, and inclusion will not help the UK defend its interests in an increasingly dangerous world. Shadow Armed Forces Minister Marc Francois said, "We are now into the third anniversary of Russia's illegal and barbaric invasion of Ukraine. It's a bit ironic then that at the same time the MOD should be advertising for even more DEI posts, none of which are likely to deter the likes of Vladimir Putin. The Ministry of Defence needs to sort its priorities out before it is overtaken by events. The job pays £36,530 per year, £11,370 more than a new soldier, for 37 hours work a week for which there is no evidence on the job advert of having to attend the office at all. It also comes with a national security payment allowance of around £2,500 and a massive employer's pension contribution of 28.9%, meaning taxpayers will be paying £10,582 into the DEI Champions pension pot each year." Commenting on the rapid proliferation of DEI jobs in the MOD, one senior soldier, who can't be named for security reasons, reported, "At a time when the budget is so stretched, you would think that there would be somebody scrutinizing the costs and removing all of the non-value items whilst prioritizing the essentials, a little like a household budget plan. They should be asking what we can do without to ensure that we have the essentials to operate. I am certain that the Ukrainians are not channeling money into more civil servants supporting DEI. They are operating on a war footing where the main and only focus is training people to fight and secure their futures," said the soldier, who has completed several tours during a multi-decade career in the army. "In the UK, the military cupboard is bare. Our trainees do not have equipment, ammunition, and more importantly, modern battle-winning technology. More time needs to be spent learning the lessons of 21st century conflict, which are being played out in Ukraine, rather than prioritizing this woke ideology of individual rights. Meritocracy wins wars, not diversity and inclusion." Concerns have also been raised over how the DEI lead will work effectively with people from a broader range of organizational cultures, passionately build an inclusive culture for all, and improving awareness of diversity and inclusion whilst working from home. The advert says changing and improving, seeing the big picture, working together, and communicating and influencing will be the behaviors countries the job holder will be assessed by. It comes after Prime Minister Keir Starmer committed Britain to spending 2.5% of GDP on defence by 2027, 3 years earlier than the previous Conservative government's target. The Labour leader pledged to raise it to 3% by the end of the next Parliament. Labour is funding this by slashing the foreign aid budget from 0.5% to 0.3% of GDP, though think tanks have warned more tax rises or spending cuts will be needed to hit 3%. Chancellor Reeves has also announced an extra £2.2 billion of defence funding for 2025-26, a cash injection as a result of Donald Trump's rapid cessation of US support for Ukraine. News of the job comes after a Times investigation found there are more civil servants working in the MOD, 62,000, than there are serving personnel in the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force combined. The numbers drew fierce criticism from senior military figures who questioned whether at least one civil servant was needed to administer every member of the Navy and Air Force. It added to growing concerns over the size of Britain's armed forces, notably the army, which is predicted to shrink below 70,000 members this year. That's the smallest number since the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 and means the entire British Army could fit inside Wembley with 20,000 seats to spare. The MOD was approached for comment. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.